Hello and welcome to the Film Pulse podcast. This is episode number 456. My name's Adam Patterson. With me today we've got Kevin Rakestraw. Hey, Kevin.
Hey.
How's it going?
Yeah, got the batteries recharged.
Yeah.
Feeling good.
Nice. Oh yeah. How was your vacation?
Oh my god, yeah.
Relaxing?
So many dolphins.
Oh yeah. Nice. This week on the show we're going to be talking about Saloum, which is an African Western horror with horror elements, I would say. This is out now on Shudder. We're also going to be talking about some of what we've been watching on the watch list and this week's new releases in theaters, VOD, and Blu-ray. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Please remember to review us on iTunes if you get a moment. That'd be very helpful. A new episode of Saved by the 90s should be dropping very soon. We did part 2 of our Erie, Indiana retrospective, so stay tuned for that. I will make an announcement as to when that's going to be coming out, but very soon. It's been recorded. It's like halfway through editing. We're going to be ready soon with that. So I guess we can get into Saloum, unless you want to talk about some recent recent news elements. Do you want to give your take on Disney's Little Mermaid live action? Are you as angry as I am that they made Ariel black?
I'm not. I don't care. I don't care about the mermaid. The only thing that I saw pictures, like some screenshots, and man, what happened to the color?
Dude, okay.
Why? Why are we doing this?
I was obviously joking about the being mad thing, because I could give two shits about any of that.
Yeah. It's insane.
And the fact that people are... I love the people who are trying to give the argument that it's like, it doesn't scientifically make sense that she'd be dark-skinned because there's no light at the bottom of the... And it's like, are you kidding me, dude? This is a mermaid we're talking about here. Shut the fuck up. Just be honest with everybody and say that you are racist. Because that's what you really mean when you say that. Yeah.
Which is insane to be like that racist that you care, like, because a lot of them are, like 30 to 50 year old
exactly men. Like you're gonna see the movie anyway. Like you have any inkling that you were gonna see this thing. And by the way, like, that aside, the movie looks like garbage. Like I have, and again, this has nothing to do with the casting whatsoever. The movie looks bad, at least from that trailer. It looks very bad. When you said, like, where would they do with the color? That's absolutely correct. It was like they were trying to be scientifically accurate about shooting a movie at the bottom of the sea. It's because it's so dark, you can't even see anything.
Yeah, it's just bad. When you see it side by side of, like, the original animated
oh my god,
version,
it's no comparison.
Yeah, there's the animated version is vibrant and just like incredible color palettes and everything, and then you see the live action, you're just like, why are you doing this? Just don't get it.
I also think that the source material, if I'm not mistaken, Ariel actually had, like, green skin, and also, like, the whole story of Little Mermaid was about, like, Hans Christian Andersen, like, it was like him writing about... It was sort of a metaphor for being gay, I think. So I don't know why people are having such a issue about any of it.
Well, I'd just like to point out that Hans Christian Andersen, if you want to know a fun fact about him, is that he masturbated a lot.
Oh, okay.
Like a lot. Like to the point of hurting himself over and over again. Yeah.
Chronic masturbator. Ugh.
Yeah. And not just like, I mean, to the point of hurting yourself.
He broke his dick, huh?
just destroyed it. You know?
just furiously masturbating nonstop while writing about mermaids.
Fucking that shit up, So if you want to, like, start arguments and stuff, just know that that's where that's the starting point, That historically speaking, you're talking about a guy that probably destroyed his dick more than any person in the history of the world.
Hmm. That's kind of funny. It's a funny fact.
It is, you know. It is funny to know that the guy responsible for, how many fairy tales, pick any time of the day, probably beating it.
Hmm.
Which is a wonder that he was able to write things.
Yeah, it was just he would get he would bang out like a couple pages in between sessions while he was recharging.
Um, it's wild. Oh god.
With that, I think we could talk about Saloum. Also, Godard passed away.
Yeah, yeah, well, yeah, assisted suicide.
Is that what it was? I didn't like know.
That's what it was. He was not sick, nothing. He was just exhausted, as he said. He was done. So it's one of those things where, like, at first I was like, "Oh man, that's a bummer," and then when I read that, I'm just like, "Oh, okay, had to."
Yeah, I mean, he lived a very full life. He
Yeah,
was
I mean, come on
he
now.
was an old man. How old was he? He was in his 80s, right?
No, he's
Nine,
91, I
91. Whoa.
think.
So I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, he had a
it's a
good run.
that's a hell of a run. I mean, the dude's cinema
Yeah.
for the most part.
All right. Well, rest in peace to the goat,
Yeah, take it
Godard.
easy, get some rest.
All right. Let's talk about Saloum. I have a synopsis here. In 2003, a trio of mercenaries escaping a coup in Guinea-Bissau take refuge in a hidden region on the Saloum River of Senegal. But something from beyond the grave awaits them there. This is directed by Jean-Luc Herbulot. Now, I didn't really know too much about this. I had a little bit of knowledge. I watched part of the trailer at one point, and this played festivals last year, but I didn't get a chance to catch up with it during those festivals. It played Fantastic Fest, and I think that it might have played Fantasia Fest last year also. I know that it was at like two different festivals that I attended. Um, but for whatever reason, it eluded me. I was interested in it, but when it dropped on Shudder, I was I was pretty excited for this. And I gotta say, was not let down. This was pretty awesome. The the visuals, the energy of this movie, loved it all. Loved the style. It's just oozing with like just badassery, if that's a term that I could use.
It is
It's just
now.
a badass movie. It feels like
Mhm.
kind of I don't know if I'd call it Tarantino-esque, but there's little shades of it in there.
Especially on the outset, but it quickly becomes its own thing, I think.
It does.
But it definitely gets you hyped up within the first couple
But
of
it
minutes.
it does
With
kind of follow almost a From Dusk Till Dawn type of
oh, that's
structuring,
true. Yeah,
where it
that's true.
begins as almost like a heist type of situation, and then I don't know, halfway through it turns into this like supernatural thriller, which I didn't know. I didn't know that there was like a supernatural angle to it
Me
at
either.
all. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess it makes sense that it's on Shutter that it would have like,
Yeah.
but also like from time to time, Shutter just kind of puts on like interesting genre films on their service. So it's I don't know. But anyway, I liked the supernatural angle. I thought it was cool, and I liked the sort of concept of where it went and what the creatures were and all of that stuff. It kind of fed into um like curses. I don't know if mythology is the right word, but like African folklore, I guess.
Yeah. Like the folklore of the place and everything, the mysticism. Yeah, and just like the opening sequence of them, kind of pointing out that revenge is it's not going to work out, you know, most of the time. And I do really enjoy just the structure of this, of where it starts out as just this like super stylized heist film in a way, and then it becomes this like them hiding out in this remote region on the Saloum River and not trying to get found out that they can make their and then the supernatural thing comes in like it's a number of different
Mm.
movies throughout and I think it excelled at pretty much all of them.
It's very intriguing. There's a lot of intrigue with this because the opening sequence it hooks you very early on. Like that whole opening sequence was incredible. Like you're like who are these guys? They're like going into
Oh
this
yeah.
village, but like it was during a coup, so like the whole village was full of dead people and it looked like there were horrible atrocities that occurred there, and then they take this gold and then they're like working with a cartel guy, and there's just like there's so much going on like right out of the gate, and you're just like it just immediately hooks you. And then they go to the village that they go to, like the little, I don't even know if you call it a village, it's almost like a little resort in a way that has its own
Yeah.
like backstory and stuff, because when they get there it almost seems like it almost seems like it has a lot of its own history and stuff going on, where it's like sort of an off the grid place for people to go and like lay low for a while, and like you can stay there for free, but you have specific jobs that you'll have to do in order to stay there. So like that was kind of interesting too. And then layering on top of that, like you find out that the reason that they're at this little village was like not just sort of through necessity, that it was planned out. And then once they get into like doing their the little jobs around the village, you find out more about the people staying there, and that those people, some of those people have ulterior motives, and that they're there for a reason. And then they go to that other village, and the other village is when it starts to get kind of creepy, because like everybody's gone and they're like running around, but their ears are like scarred over, like they like mutilated their own ears, and you're just like, what's going on with that? So there's a lot going on in this movie, and I think that almost all of it works for me. I was glued to it the whole time. I was
Yeah. And especially it's such a great job in the outset of this of setting up this mercenary group, this threesome, the hyenas, where like within I don't know 2 minutes of seeing these guys, and I would say I haven't seen their face. They got their protective gear on and they're doing their thing. They're synchronized,
mm.
stomping up the steps and everything to the music. And I'm just immediately sold on these guys. Where I'm like, give me a film franchise.
And yeah, and
I'll take it.
that's the crazy thing, because after you learn a little bit about the hyenas, you learn that they're like famous in the area,
Yeah.
and that they're regarded as heroes. And they even mention some of the other things that they've done in the past,
Yeah.
and you're just
Give me
like,
those movies.
okay, yeah, I want to
Give
see
them.
that, because these guys, these mercenaries, are just fucking just completely badass.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The other thing that it kind of bummed me out just a touch is that the opening sequence of this is just so high energy and so great that it kind of dips down and you don't really get that again until towards the end. So that was a little bit of a disappointment because I think that they really excelled, especially with the
Mm.
camera work
Oh yeah.
during the acts, even though the action sequences aren't as robust as maybe as I'd like them to be, but they're
Mm.
choreographed really well.
I thought it was interesting that they could like actually fight and kill the entities, like, because it doesn't seem like the type of thing that you'd be able to
Yes.
kill, or not like kill in a traditional sense. Like they're like, yeah, they're like chopping them up with like knives and meat cleavers and stuff, and it just doesn't seem like you'd be able to do that to those things. But hey, it works. There is also, like you said at the beginning, there is a revenge angle to this story as well. Something that I don't want to get too deep into for fear of spoilers, but adds another layer to the story. And
Yeah,
I I understand like that whole the whole concept, like you said, where revenge typically doesn't lead to good places, but even still, I wasn't a fan of how this movie ended. And I thought that it was a little bit of a bummer how they ended things off and what happens, because it I'm trying to word it in such a way that it doesn't reveal anything, but I just didn't find it to be satisfying. It almost felt like the bad guys won to me, and I
yeah,
just wasn't a fan of that. I think because I had a pretty strong attachment to these characters, and even aside from the mercenaries, like the
good.
other characters in that little village, I also
Yeah,
like wanted to see everybody make it through this.
yeah, which I think is a positive in its own way.
Mm,
To get you that invested in these individuals, that even though things don't work out the way that you wanted them to, that you were so invested in them that it bummed you out so much.
yeah. Even still, even though I wasn't a big fan of how it ended, I feel like it just kind of ended on a whimper rather than a bang, you know. But
Yeah,
even still, that didn't really bring the movie down for me at all. Like I wouldn't dock it points or anything. I don't think, because everything that leads up to that is just still so good, and I would love to see more with these characters. Like I just I
yes,
want to see more in this world. I just want to see more movies like this. I mean, I certainly hope that this director's working on. Oh wow! I just looked and he has a movie called Zero that's coming out, and it's two Americans end up in Dakar, Senegal, with bombs strapped to their chests in 10 hours to find out why. So that
oh, there you go.
sounds. I mean, I'm into that. He also has a movie coming out called Interstate, which is a supernatural thriller in which a hitman facing an existential crisis decides to exit the game and leave town with a woman he loves, but his plans are disrupted by a mysterious young man and his ruthless former boss. Oh, that one stars Ozzy
No, no.
Argento. So yeah, he's got some stuff coming out. He's working on stuff, but what I'd really like to see is some kind of prequel to Saloon.
Yeah, I could definitely take a bunch of those. Like every job that was discussed, every bullet point, like in the history of the hyenas, you can give me those movies. I'll
I
gladly
would say
take them.
that also like in addition to the great camera work, the great cinematography in this, the writing was also quite good. Like I really liked the script. It was snappy, it was clever. I loved the banter between the hyenas. Like
Mhm.
they were funny. There was a decent amount of humor in this, and it just added to that kind of, you know, great great tone. I feel like the script really complemented the cinematography, vice versa. It just had this great style overall.
Yeah, no, this is definitely like perhaps one of the biggest surprises of this year for me. Where going into it, it seemed pretty promising. It seemed like it might be a good time, but really came away with this being one of my favorites of the year so far.
Yeah, I was afraid that it was going to be I thought it was going to be a little too dry, but I was completely wrong about that. It's definitely not.
No,
It's
it's
great.
got a great energy to it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So highly recommend Saloon. Let's go ahead and give it a score. I'm pretty high on this one. I'm at like, man, I might be at like an 8 on this.
I think that's where I am too.
It's great. I think it is probably one of the biggest surprises for me this year. One of the and probably one of the most enjoyable movies I've seen so far this year. So it'll definitely be up up there on my list. I don't know if it's going to crack that top 10 or not, but definitely worth checking out. And props to Shudder. Their output is increasing in quantity and quality, I would say. So, I mean, at this point, I think I watch Shudder way more than I watch Netflix. Netflix is dropping off for me.
Oh, and yeah, Netflix has become trash, really. Let's be honest.
It really has. I mean, everything has been a disappointment with them recently, except for a few things here and there, the Cyberpunk show, but like movie wise,
Yeah.
even a lot of the shows that they had, I just am not able to continue watching. All right, so that's Saloum. Again, check it out on Shudder. Or I think if you have AMC Plus, I think that you get all the Shudder stuff. So either one.
Okay.
Let's talk about some of what we've been watching. I think it's your turn this week, Kevin.
Oh, okay. The first one I'll talk about is Horror in the High Desert, directed by
Uh,
Dutch Marriage from 2021. This is one of those made in quarantine
mm-hmm.
little movies. So an experience disappears in a remote region of Nevada, right? So this is kind of like a found footage slash documentary, faux documentary style. Most of it is just nothing but isolated talking head interviews, that type of thing. Feels very much like a TV episode, more so than a film, just an extended, TV episode, given the budget and the way that you're set up is that these guys are going to try and waste as much time as possible. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like that's the structure to this is that it's going to be a lot of just like, talking head interviews and then a little bit of scary stuff at the end. And that's exactly what it is much of the runtime, if not all of it, consists of people just beating around the bush, like giving you little tidbits of the story, but and none of it's really that compelling. They're just talking about stuff that's not pertinent information, just padding the runtime essentially until it's spooky time. And then, thank God, at a certain point, it's spooky time. And the spooky time is pretty great. Like, it's the old, handheld found footage shot with like the infrared nighttime camera type deal.
Mm-hmm.
And all that stuff is great, right? But it's just a fact of the matter is that 98% of this movie is something that you don't want to watch.
All right, well, I'll probably skip that one then. Horror in the High Desert. Speaking of quarantine movies, I saw He's Watching, and this was a quarantine movie, found footage, sort of. It's found footage, but at the same time, it's not at all. Like, it's sort of presented as found footage, and in fact, there's even like these little cutaways, like title cards that come up and say like much of the next 36 hours was not recorded and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's like there's camera angles and shit that like completely negate the whole found footage formula. Like there's no like it sometimes you can criticize found footage movies for being like completely illogical as far as like how they got that, like who's editing this and like how did they get that shot? How could we nobody's mic'd up, so how did we hear that? Just different things like that. Like small technical things, but this one is like so egregious as far as sticking to the formula that it's anybody who's like a stickler for found footage will be very frustrated with how this is presented. It's directed by Jacob Aaron Estes, and it stars his family, his two kids. So it seems like one of these deals where maybe he was in quarantine with his family and they wanted to do something while they were locked up, so they decided to make this movie. And apparently, like, his kids had some input with like creating it and stuff. It's what it is about these two kids. Their parents end up going to the hospital from some sort of illness. Turns out it's like kind of the pandemic. and they discover that there's like some person, some entity that's kind of watching them and like sending them videos and stuff like that. And the thing that makes this a little bit different is it's kind of like an art house horror film where it mixed in between with like the found footage stuff is just this kind of weird surreal imagery, and none of it works at all. I just could not stand anything in this. Like I didn't find it to be scary. It was so boring to me. I just hated every moment of this movie, and I can't recommend it at all. So sorry,
Wow.
but I hated He's Watching.
Yeah, it looks bad. And it's surprising to see that like he's an actual director.
Yeah, he did that movie. What's the one? Don't Let Go. That's what I
Mean
was thinking
Creek.
of. He did Don't
Yeah.
Let Go,
What
and he did Mean Creek.
and the details. Toby
I'm
McGuire.
not familiar with the details, but I did see the other two. I didn't like Don't Let Go, by the way. I loved Mean Creek back in the day. I don't know how I'd feel about it now, but
Well, I watched Tourist Trap 1979.
oh my god.
David Schwimmer. Oh, buddy. Uncut version. Tubi. Tubi's got the uncut. So you got some young travelers that get stranded, and the mysterious Mr. Slauson helps them alongside his collection of mannequins.
Mm-hmm.
He's got some
Yeah.
mannequins there. That's part of his thing. He's got a whole compound. He's got a house, he's got a museum, he's got a hot spring, waterfall, all sorts of stuff. But then that new highway came in and it fucked him over. And now he's got nothing except his mannequins that he can control with telekinesis, I guess. We never really get an explanation of what's happening. Which is something that I appreciate with this movie is that it's just presented. It's not really we're not trying to make sense of this. We're just going to present things, and it's going to be a wild time. It's going to be ridiculous, and it's going to be enjoyable. Okay? That's what it is. Disappointing, and I don't know how the uncut version differs from the theatrical version, but there's the opening kill. He also has a gas station, I guess, which he owns, or I guess he just inherited it because he killed everyone. And a guy goes there to get some gas. He walks into a room. Mannequins pop up. They're doing mannequin stuff. It's just mostly shaking and
Mm-hmm.
jiggling and laughing, creating a whole bunch of just a bunch of ruckus. Just a ruckus with all these goddamn mannequins smashing through windows and whatnot. Guy's trying to get out, can't get out. Stuff starts flying out of this cabinet, and he ends up getting like a rod in his back, blood coming out of it. And that's what ends up killing him. And there's just something about the cacophony and the ruckus of of everything. It's just absolutely terrifying. This is how you're introduced, and then that guy dies, and it's just a very quiet, like camera pan through the room, off camera. You can hear the killer just kind of like mumbling to himself, like as he's cleaning up. It's just like the wind coming through the windows and billowing the curtains and everything. It's just it really it pointed to something where it was like, oh shit, this is going to be special. This is going to be like something else where you have just this complete insanity followed up by these like quiet moments. But unfortunately that's not sustained through the rest of the movie. It's still enjoyable. It's still a great time because it's so goddamn ridiculous. But that first initial kill just it showed me a glimpse of like this movie could have been just like absolutely incredible, but it just didn't stick to it. It's
Yeah.
still good,
Yeah.
but just could have been something
Yeah,
else.
I liked this movie quite a bit. I was kind of surprised. I saw this not too long ago. Actually, it wasn't too long ago that I saw this, and I actually thought it was pretty scary. I thought it was pretty effective. So
Yeah, no, it's fucked up. It's disturbing.
PG, rated PG.
It's fucking insane.
Isn't that
Just
weird?
insane.
I mean, I understand it's before the PG-13 rating, but still, you'd think that they would go with the R instead.
You would think, but they are like, nah. You know what? This is
This is
What's that?
okay for kids.
Yeah, kids can see this.
Yeah.
And which is like, there's not really blood outside of like the initial kill. There's like a trickle.
Yeah,
So
but
yeah, there's not
still, I
blood, but
mean,
there's
just
a lot of like very disturbing imagery.
I think it's just another reason that the MPAA is useless.
Yeah, they didn't care. They're like, no one's gonna watch this shit anyways.
Yeah. All right, that's Tourist Trap. Definitely check that out. Free on Tubi. It's on Shudder. It's free on Vudu. It's on Peacock.
Oh my
Yeah, you
goodness.
can check it out pretty much anywhere. Speaking of Shudder, I saw Speak No Evil. This is directed by Christian Tafdrup, and it came out on Shudder this past weekend. It's about a Danish family who they're on vacation. They end up meeting up with this Dutch family, and they kind of hit it off, and they sort of become friends, and then they go their separate ways, and then they get a letter from the Dutch family saying like, hey, we were just thinking about the great time we had on holiday, and we were wondering if you'd be interested in like coming to our place, spending the weekend at our place, hanging out, having a good time. And they're like, yeah, we had a good time, so let's do it. So they go, and like right off the bat, when this family goes to this other family's house, like you know that there's something very off about what's going on here. Their personalities have changed a little bit, and it almost seems like they're not being genuinely nice, that they're like faking it. And everything from that point seems to be a little bit off. And then as the hours and days progress, things get much darker until some kind of evil truths are surfaced. And it's a slow burn thriller, so a lot of it is just build up. And one of the things that I liked about this was that they play this like really oppressive, suspenseful music even during scenes where nothing is happening. Like they'll play this like crazy tense music when it's just them hanging out at a park. And this doing that does a really good job of amplifying the tension, like, because you just know that something is about to happen, but you never know really when or what's going to happen, what's going on with this family. You know that they're not really telling the truth, but you're also not sure like what the hell their goal is here, like what their game is. But when it all does happen, and you do learn what their motivations are and everything, it's pretty brutal. And the way the climax of this movie is very disturbing and kind of shocking. So I can definitely recommend Speak No Evil. It's got great cinematography. The score is really good too, like I said. And where it goes is pretty horrifying. So if you're looking for a good slow burn thriller that packs a big punch at the end, then I would definitely recommend checking it out.
Nice. I'm gonna have to check. Putting that
Yeah,
on
I
the
liked
list.
this one quite a bit.
Another one that I watched on Tubi, quickly becoming my favorite streaming service. Gotta say, my mom was on to something. The Gate from 1987. Stephen Dwarf and his buddy, little.
Oh yeah,
Oh, he's little. He's just a little
Little
kid,
Dwarf.
just a little tiny kid. Him and his buddy accidentally open a gate to hell by cracking open a geode. This fucking geodes. Fucking
Hell yeah,
geodes. There was
Geodes.
a it's just sidebar. There was a rich guy that my mom used to be like like the housekeeper for, and he had a whole shelf of geodes,
Mm-hmm.
just like that, on display and stuff.
Oh god.
Oh man, little me loved
Yeah.
that shit because we would house sit because he was always traveling, so I got to live in a mansion
Mm-hmm.
and just check out his geodes. Good times. This movie is pretty damn good. This just has like the right feel sometimes of what you want in a horror movie, where it kind of has that, when you're dealing with kids. I always love a good horror movie with kids trying to tackle whatever evil is in the world. That's always a good time. Um, there's just this
Yeah.
movie has a ton of really impressive practical effects for the time period. And the other weird thing, though, is that it also has some really poor practical effects. And it's interesting to see what are really good
Hmm.
and what's poor. Like the stuff that's really good is super impressive because you're just like, wow, the scale of this is just incredible. I'm thinking of like the hell tornado that comes out of the gate to hell up into the heavens. Looks incredible. Probably the worst practical effect of this movie is just a simple scene of influx of moths coming into a bedroom where you're just like, wow, that looks absolutely fucking terrible. You couldn't just release like a ton of moths? You don't have a moth wrangler or something? So it's very bizarre of like what looks really good and what doesn't look good. Because it's usually the simple stuff that doesn't look good. Uh, the other thing that kind of surprised me about this is that it kind of takes a while to get to like the Hellgate stuff. It's just more of like him and his buddy hanging out and just everything kind of coming, all the dominoes falling into place for the Hellgate. But man, once Hellgate opens and the demons are let loose, this thing just it keeps going. It puts the foot on the gas and just keeps going until the end. It's got a great intensity to it. And there's just some truly great, like, kind of like nightmarish fantasy dream imagery type stuff, especially like the opening sequence of this movie where he's having this like nightmare, little Steven Dwarfus, and just the look of it. It's just a great atmosphere to it. Just a great October horror movie.
Yeah, I love the gate. I think it's great. If you're into like that kind of 80s
Yes.
Amblin,
Without a
Stephen
doubt.
King style, like it's definitely
Man,
fits that
it's got
bill.
that feel to it. It's just so comforting in a horror movie.
All right, the last one that I'll mention is called Confess Fletch. It's directed by Greg Matola. This was I wasn't really even aware that this was a thing.
Yeah, I wasn't either.
Like I knew that they were working on a new Fletch sequel for like a long time, but I didn't really know the details, and I just found out about Confess Fletch like I don't know, a couple weeks ago or something. So this was like a bit of a surprise drop, and I didn't really know anything about it. And I liked it. It's pretty good. It definitely so if you're a fan of the original Fletch movies with Chevy Chase, Fletch and Fletch Lives, I think that you will enjoy this because it very very much has the same DNA in it. The writing is very similar where in this John Hamm plays Fletch and he has that same kind of wit to him, that same charisma where he's definitely a wordsmith and his little one liners and just random things that he says are they're great. I mean, they're definitely a highlight of the original movies and they're the highlight here too. I never found the Fletch movies, the original ones, to be like laugh out loud funny.
Mhm.
I like them, and I think that both of them have their moments. They're like specific scenes, and the interesting thing about Fletch is that it's almost like a series of interconnected, uh, like almost set pieces between Fletch and another character. Like a lot of it is just like him going to this place and having a goofy conversation with this goofy person and then doing it again in another spot. And that's how this is structured too. So it's very similar where John Hamm's Fletch goes to this one place, has a wacky conversation with a wacky character, and then he learns a little bit of information about, the case that he's working, and then goes to another spot and does the same thing. It's a formula that I think works with the right characters and the right script. And in this case, I think that it does work. It's not hilarious by any means, but it's also very entertaining, and the the plot, the narrative here is also, it definitely keeps you engaged, because what you have here is that Fletch um he's away in Italy. He comes to Boston and is staying at this person's house. And when he arrives, there's a dead body in the house, and he gets framed for the murder. And
Mm.
so the movie is basically, it's sort of him trying to solve two cases. One is he's trying to clear himself of this murder, and he's trying to help he was hired by this wealthy Italian guy to recover these stolen paintings, and he ends up falling in love with this guy's daughter. So he's trying to help her and her dad recover these paintings also. But of course, he quickly figures out that the two crimes are connected. So yeah, I mean, I would give it a light recommend. It's on VOD. Check it out if you're looking for a decent comedy.
Yeah, it seems like one of those that once it hits streaming, 'cause since the dearth of comedies,
Yeah.
definitely check it out
Yeah.
when it hits streaming.
All right, let's take a look at what we have in theaters this week. The big one is Don't Worry, Darling. This is the one that has all the drama behind it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are you interested in this one?
Not really. I mean, it's one of those I'll check out when it comes to streaming, probably.
Yeah, I'm not in a hurry to see this in theaters or anything, but I usually like movies that involve like creepy towns, like Stepford-esque
Yeah.
towns, and it takes place in the 50s, so I like that. So yeah, that's really the only one that I see coming out on VOD this week. We have on the 20th, we have 223 Wick. Looks like maybe a thriller. We have To the Moon, that is also on the 20th. And this is looks like a horror movie. Young couple finds their weekend retreat becoming a hallucinatory nightmare.
Oh no.
Look out. On the 21st, we have Escape from Kabul. That's going to be on HBO. That's a documentary. We got The Perfumer.
Sure.
That's going to be on Netflix. On the 22nd, we have Raven's Hollow coming to Shudder. On the 23rd, we have Sydney. That's going to be on Apple TV Plus. That's the documentary about Sidney Poitier. Got The Swearing Jar. Looks like some kind of drama. We got Carmen. We got Dig. That's going to be a thriller with Thomas Jane and Emile Hirsch. We have The Infernal Machine with Guy Pearce. That's a psychological thriller of obsession and deceit. Mm-hmm. Also on the 23rd, we have Athena, and that's going to be on Netflix. We have, what is Athena about?
For good things about this one.
Hours after the tragic death of their youngest brother in unexplained circumstances, three siblings have their lives thrown into chaos.
Ramon Gravas.
Mm-hmm. Also on the 23rd, we have On the Come Up. That's going to be on Paramount Plus. Got Bandit. I think is that a Mel Gibson? Yeah, that's a Mel Gibson. Josh DeMille.
You say Josh DeMille?
Josh DeMille.
No, it can't be.
I feel like we haven't seen
Can't
him
be.
in anything for quite a while. Yeah. Josh DeMille, Alicia Cuthbert, and Mel Gibson.
Get out of town.
There we go. We also have Blank. We got The Enforcer. That's starring Antonio Banderas. That looks like that's about it for VOD. very robust VOD lineup, but not a whole lot that I'm interested in.
No, the only thing I can say is Athena.
Yeah,
That'd be the only one.
I mean, I'll probably check out that Shudder one, but I'm not like excited for it or anything.
Is that an obligation?
Pretty much. On Blu-ray this week, got a couple 4K releases here, including Poltergeist, The Lost Boys. It's a really cool cover for The Lost Boys, by the way. We got Crawl coming out, and there's an alternate cover. There's like 2 different covers on this Lost Boys release, and both of them are quite good. Let's see what else we have. Ace High from 1968. Got In the Folds of Flesh from 1970. Old Henry, that was from last year. Don't Deliver Us from Evil from 1971.
Don't we like it?
Yeah, I like that. We have A Haunted Turkish Bathhouse from 1975.
You say a haunted Turkish bathhouse.
That is correct. That is
very specific.
Yeah. We have House of Terrors from 1965. These are all, it looks like these are all part of the same collection, the Mondo Macabro collection.
Okay.
A sly gangster hatches a plot against his own wife who works at a brothel cum bathhouse with the help of the bathhouse owner's wife.
Oh, no.
A haunted Turkish bathhouse. All right. Well, that's going on my list. Let's see what else we have here. Vengeance from earlier this year. We have Everything You Always Wanted to Know About Sex But Were Afraid to Ask from 1972. Mercenary Fighters from 1988. Mercenary Fighters. The Reef Stalked from earlier this year. That one was the crap one. Wrong Place from earlier this year. That's pretty much it. Whole ton of anime, as usual. What about Criterion's this week?
Oh, okay, we got 2. We got Clouseau's Le Corbeau, which is a really good movie from 1943. Getting a new 4K. So I recommend that one. And then Exotica from Adam Ego from 1994.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Those are both interesting choices there. All right. I think that's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. You can send us your questions and topics to podcast@filmpulse.net. You can follow us on Twitter @FilmPulseNet and @FilmPulseKevin. And if you have a minute, consider reviewing us on iTunes. That would be great. For Kevin Rakestraw, my name's Adam Patterson. We'll see you next week.